Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Alexander Singh. Alexander is a Chinese cisgender little man in Oakland, California, with chronic health conditions and multiple disabilities. He enjoys communicating with friends and family. He works at the Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, a nonprofit organization that supports individuals with disabilities and older adults in achieving independence. He also has a bachelor's and master's of arts degree in multimedia communications and an associate's degree in American Sign Language. Oh, hi, Alex. It's so wonderful to see you today. I'm so super excited that you're taking the time to be here. And I'm really looking forward to our conversations because I know you've done a lot of work specifically with the disability community, which is a community near and dear to my heart. But how are you doing today?
I'm really well. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for your time. It's really a pleasure to have you today. So just starting off, can you share a bit about your personal journey growing up as a Chinese little person with disabilities and what shaped your values and perspectives on supporting other people with disabilities?
Growing up as a little person with a disability, or a Chinese person with a disability, I knew I was different than the quote-unquote average or normal person, but I didn't associate or involve as much as I am now with the disability community. So it was different. I'll say that. But growing up, I was mainstream in school. I had a lot of able-bodied friends and classmates. Growing up, I had people around me who really advocated for what I needed in school or when I was at a medical appointment or just in life. People around me who knew, for example, the education system. That is, my mom was an administrator and teacher in the Berkeley Unified School District. And so because of that, and I went to Oakland Public Schools. She knew how to advocate for what I needed while in the mainstream school system, meaning mainstream classes, meaning that I was not in special ed. I was with the average or normal student in regular classes. When I had modification to some of my assignments, or I had an instructional assistant who would work with me on different assignment, or I had a speech therapist to help me communicate more properly. So yeah, a variety of things. Growing up, I'll say particularly in the education system, learning how to advocate for myself through seeing other people doing it for me.
Wonderful. So, just with my own journey, I feel like I've developed like a lot of pride, like being an Asian American and having that identity. And I think just learning about like Asian American history and just, how we show up in this country. So do you find like, did your like identity as like Chinese American also have like influence on you growing up?
Not necessarily. I mean, I knew I was Chinese. I know I'm Chinese. But it helped, and it shaped me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
No. I can say that my family, my extended family, like my mom's siblings and meaning my aunts and uncles and cousins,
Mm-hmm.
they all helped me grow up and have family values.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got to learn our family Chinese traditions, culture. So things like that help. But I wouldn't say I didn't learn a lot about Chinese history and
Mm-hmm.
Asian American culture until later in life in school. I'll say that in college.
Oh, okay.
Um, I just knew about my family history
Oh, okay.
and what celebration we would have. How the weddings would be, how the funeral would be, um, things like that. For example, having a lion dance at different celebrations.
Yeah.
Having red envelopes, lacy for Chinese New Year, giving them out. Different words we would use to call our grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So different things like that.
Okay.
But there wasn't any um historical things that were instilled in me, for example,
Okay.
in terms of Asian American history.
Okay, cool. No, I was just curious to see because like just having those different identities, being a person with a disability and also being Chinese American. So I just wanted to see if there's like what it's like to be a person of color having like a disability. So thank you for explaining that.
So with that question, I can say that when I was in Chinatown, for example,
Mm-hmm.
in San Francisco, I mean in other places too, but there were a lot more stares from people who um were not familiar with a disabled person or didn't. I wouldn't say the word respect, but yeah, they sort of shun them. Um, and some of the buildings were not as accessible. That's another area, but I'm more so. You're asking me that question. I'm thinking more about the older generation sharing and possibly talking about a person with a disability like myself, um, in their own language. Granted, I don't know because I don't know Cantonese or Mandarin fluently.
Okay.
So I don't know specifically if they are talking about me, but it does. It felt that way when I was uh going to different places
Okay.
in Chinatown.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that you had to
Yeah,
experience that. But how has your or how have your chronic health and conditions and multiple disabilities influenced the way that you navigate and advocate within your community?
I would say the one thing that comes to mind is if I'm not getting the proper care that I should be getting, or
Hmm.
if I'm denied a service using my insurance, then I have to get on the phone and call my insurance and make it a three-way call between my insurance, the medical company, and whatever provider I need to get things straightened out, or I have to file a grievance,
Hmm.
and all of those things. And so when I learned all that, I then inform and guide people who call us at CIL, at Center for Independent Living, and explain my experience, and hopefully that'll help them with what's going on with their situation.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So, something that I think is really important is representation, especially like in the media and, books or anything. Just seeing ourselves, represented in these different outlets. So, do you feel like you're truly seen in media or community spaces?
Nowadays, yes, more
Okay.
so than early on. Granted, growing up, I didn't, but I mentioned before, I wasn't as in the disability community and disability advocacy growing up
Mm-hmm.
myself. I had people around me who were, and would advocate for me, but I did not, in terms of representation, I knew I was a person with a disability. When I was watching television or the media, I didn't think about all that.
Yeah.
I was just watching a show and enjoying a show. So I didn't think about identity, uh, community, culture, what's right, what's wrong. If I enjoy the show, I enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nowadays, however, as an adult, my thoughts have changed slightly. Um, Still, if I'm enjoying the show, I'm enjoying the show. But I would prefer that if it is possible to have a person with a disability in that role, that would be my preference. If that character is supposed to have a person, is supposed to be a person with a disability, then that actor should be a person with a disability,
Mm-hmm.
with a similar disability that they are supposed to be portrayed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't know, how does it feel like if you do see someone who doesn't have a disability playing like someone with a disability? I've seen that happen before.
Oh yeah, that happens many times. Um, Sometimes I can tell and sometimes I can't.
Okay.
I'll say that much. Uh, Sometimes it bothers me and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on how the actor portrays, acts, all those kinds of things as a person with a disability.
Okay.
If they're doing if the story and the actor is doing poorly or does something that's not correct,
Right.
then that would definitely weird. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm not one that does the whole cancel culture. I'll say
Okay.
that.
Okay. No, I get that.
So I'm one that's sort of like, it is what it is.
Okay.
If it happens, it happens. And if somebody else wants to say something and I agree with that on social media, for example, I will repost it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Will I say anything personally online? Possibly. It depends on how I want to say it.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to speaking publicly on social media, for example, I am careful at what I say.
Yeah.
I can nowadays you always have to be.
Yeah.
And some are not, and then they get in trouble. I don't want to be that person. I, it affects, it can, not, I won't say it will, but it can affect the person's job, it can affect all the different things. They talk about now, and I mentioned here, I'm not on politics, but I will say that you're talking about freedom of speech, and yes, you have the right to say what you want to say, but there are consequences possibly depending on what you say.
Right.
And so when it comes to me saying what I want to say online, I always have to think about what I want to say, or what I'm going to say, not what I want. I can say whatever I want. But what I'm going to say and post, I have to think about who's going to read it.
Yeah, no, that's good that you're being cautious like that. So,
Yeah.
I'd love to talk with you about your work with the Center for Independent Living, CIL in Berkeley. So, what drew you to the to CIL, and what does independence mean to you in the context of disability justice?
That's a very good question. What drew me to CIL, the
Yeah.
Center for Independent Living? As I mentioned, growing up, I was not around a lot of people who identify as a person with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I was in community college, or let me step back a little. So I wasn't around a lot of people who identify as a person with a disability, and I did participate once or twice at CIL. I want to say in high school in the youth program, but I was not into what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
so I only attended 2 meetings, I believe. And I was offered, and I applied and was offered to go to, I think it was the Youth Leadership Conference in Sacramento during the summer one year. And the group was going to make accommodations for me. And I decided to not go due to other reasons. So that was that. And that was in high school, transitioning into college. And 2009, I'll start there. In 2009, I became friends with a person who's now one of my best friends. Her name is Giovanna. And she and I became friends at Berkeley City College. And she started working at CIL mainly in 2012 as a youth mentor for what was known as MAPS, Mentors, Advocacy, and Peer Support program. And they needed more youth mentors. And she told me about job openings. And so she talked with her supervisor, who said that the supervisor said that I should have an interview. So I went for the interview, and I think it was that day or a week later, I can't remember exactly, I was hired.
Okay.
And that was in 2012. I was a youth mentor for a year or so. And then I want to say Stacy Hart Milburn asked me to become a travel trainer.
Okay.
So I had 2 jobs, and then I finally, with a youth mentor and a travel trainer. And then I became a full-time travel trainer. Then after that, I've had many jobs at CIO. About 6 months after that, and travel training was 2013. About 6 months to a year after that, I think 2014 or 15, I finally had a role that I still have now, which is information and referral specialist and receptionist, because one of the people who held that job was leaving, and they needed a replacement and someone who knew American Sign Language, who was fluent in that. And that was me, because I studied it for 4 years at Berkeley City College and got my Associate's of Arts degree in that. And so from 2015, I'll say, until now, I'm in an information referral specialist.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And actually, I had a follow up with that. So, do you feel like your background with multimedia communications and American Sign Language, does it help your work in like advocacy and accessibility?
Yes, most definitely. So I didn't mention my media work until now, I guess. I got my bachelor's and master's degree in media communication, or what they call multimedia arts and communication, in 2012 and 2014, at Holy Names and University in Oakland and Academy of Arts University in San Francisco, respectively. And so with that, learning all this stuff about broadcasting and media and journalism, that has definitely helped with learning about advocacy, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to, and that's really any type of advocacy, whether it's disability, Asian advocacy, Asian community advocacy, anything I want to, or anything I identify as or represent, I want to support. If I want to support or advocate for it, I will. And that goes back to what I want to say or what I want to post, and what I feel is appropriate to post on the media, or when I'm producing, recording, and publishing online. I want to make sure that it represents who I am, and hopefully it not discriminate anyone, I'll say.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, can you please share an example of like a specific story where at CIL you created a meaningful change for someone? Because I know that you work with a lot of folks over at CIL. So, yeah, is there any story that sticks out to you where you really created this meaningful change for someone?
That's a good question. I was not ready for it. The first one that comes to mind is, and that's just because the third quarter of our report, I guess you can say, for CIO, our annual report, that happened, and so we had to turn in our success stories. So I can say that the most recent success story I had was a individual with having issue with their health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They are covered by two health insurances, and there was a lot of miscommunication as to who is covering what.
Okay.
And the consumer was confused by it all because they were getting a runaround from this insurance and that insurance saying, no, we cover this, they cover this, and back and forth. And so finally, after hearing their story, I referred them to ICAP, which is a health insurance advocacy and counseling program, I believe. But when I referred them to ICAP, and gave the consumer that phone number, that consumer contacted a ICAP counselor, and which the counselor explained, this is what you do with the insurance, this is what you need to say to get everything resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And so once that consumer did that, they got everything resolved, and now both insurance companies know what they're supposed to cover, and that consumer knows as well what the health insurance company are supposed to cover. So, with all of that being said, it basically, with the experience of knowing how to communicate with each health insurance company and making sure that everyone is on the same page, and knowing that resource of who to call with the professional experience of how to advocate for your health insurance and how to get things paid for. All of that works in that consumer's favor.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And so just the cities of Oakland and Berkeley, really rich in activism, and I think the Bay Area in general too. So has living in the Bay Area just influenced the way that you approach advocacy and activism?
That is a question. And the reason I say that is because I don't totally see myself as an activist,
Okay.
even though I do things, and people say I do things that are about self-advocacy or peer support advocacy, and how to stand up for yourself and all of those kinds of things. But I don't attend a lot or any protests,
Mm-hmm.
and do all those kinds of activism type things that my friends and colleagues do. So I don't know in terms of the area advocacy or activism
Mm-hmm.
what it's like. So I can't say exactly, or I can't really answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
I can just say that the people, friends and family I'm around have taught me a lot about how to advocate for myself and for others.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. So what are barriers or misconceptions about disability that you wish that more people understood, especially within the broader social justice movements?
I'm not sure about social justice movement.
Okay.
However, I can say that what barriers or misconceptions that I want changed or people to understand in the broader community, or in the broader community, is that a disabled person is just like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
We may have some limitation that, or some things that will assist us in doing things, such as, for me, I use a power wheelchair to get around when I'm out and about in the community because I cannot walk long distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I use some medical equipment such as an oxygen tank or an oxygen to help me breathe better and have more energy.
Mm-hmm.
But that does not limit me from doing everything. I can still do things. It just may take me more time to do it, or I may need some sort of tool or assistive technology device to help me do it. And that goes for anyone else, I think, with a disability. We can do a lot of things in broader community, in the larger community. It just may take us longer, or we just might need some sort of device to help us do something, or we might just need extra pair of hands from a person,
Mm-hmm.
like a personal care attendant to do it. So it's broader or larger community just has to learn to accept it. I'll put it that way.
Right.
And as you might, or people might have seen or read overall, is that disability is one of the largest majority types,
Oh, okay.
meaning that pretty much anyone at some point may become a person with a disability.
Right.
And so they will all learn what it's like to be a person with a disability. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's up to them on how they want to take that.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. That's a really beautiful perspective. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that either. Because I think, especially like, there are many like people with invisible disabilities. I think that, you might not even know that they do have a disability.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how can allies really be in genuine solidarity with the disability movement and, just really be supportive of what you're trying to achieve?
Basically repeating what I just said
Okay.
and just be more conscious, aware,
Yeah.
accepting to people with any type of disability,
Uh-huh.
making sure a place, meaning a venue, a concert, a restaurant, a store, is accessible for people with a variety of types of disabilities.
Yeah.
For myself, thinking for myself as a person with with multiple physical disabilities, making sure it is really wheelchair accessible, not just say it is and then not have an automatic door opener button.
Yeah.
And some places will say they are wheelchair accessible and they have an elevator, but the elevator might be old, it might not be working, it might be designed in a certain way that may not fit a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so really being aware and conscientious of how to have a space that is wheelchair accessible. And also, if they want to be an ally, really help advocate and stand up for people with disabilities. If they see something that is wrong, say something.
Right.
You know, if the person with a disability wants assistance, and I mean want
Hmm.
that assistance, help them. Now, if they don't want the help, don't offer it, don't do it,
Yeah.
basically. But
Yeah.
that person doesn't want it. Um, yeah, so, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. No, thank you for sharing that too. And yeah, just a little bit about myself. I used to be a attendant for people with disabilities back when I was in college, and that's how I first got more involved with the community. And yeah, just being attendants because I worked with many people who also use wheelchairs, and it's like things that I just didn't have to notice before. Like even if there's like a slight curb, it's like, oh, why? It's even if it seems so small to us, it's a big challenge. Or also like if the elevator was down in BART, like we'd literally have to go to the next stop and like
Yep.
backtrack. And yeah, I think it's just like just keep having people talk about these and bring awareness to it because I think, like myself too, it's just things that I wasn't even aware about until I was with someone else who had disabilities.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, are there any particular narratives or stereotypes that you're working to challenge through your work or personal expression? Like we were even talking about, how maybe actors without disabilities, they have this stereotype of like, oh, this is what a person with this disability would be. And like, no, it's not. Because I think there's a lot of negative stereotypes as well. So I was also a job developer at CIL, that's where we met. And I had such a hard time because I was going door to door at businesses and talking with them like, hey, can you hire people with disabilities? I heard so many awful things that I feel like making stereotypes about people with disabilities, I feel like is still, kind of okay in people's eyes, which it shouldn't be because they would say like, oh no, we met our quota, or like, no, don't they move too slow, or don't they think too slowly? And I'm like, no, they're people. And so it just, I think there's so many stereotypes when it comes to people thinking about people with disabilities. So do you feel like you want to do work to challenge those stereotypes?
Yes. And one of the things really talking with people with disabilities, and still taking their work in some
Mhm.
way so that in the media, so that um, the larger community or the larger or let's say the average individual can see um, how a person with a disability is. I've
Mhm.
seen that already with different documentaries that have been out there, showcasing what it's like to be a person with a disability with personal attendance, for example.
Yeah.
So, um, things like that, basically, just showcasing what it's like to be a person with a disability. So that
Yeah.
people without disabilities can see we are just like everyone else. We just may need a, some modification or some assistance to get things done.
No, that's cool. And so what gives you hope right now in regards to the disability rights movement?
Just seeing my colleagues and others who are disabled advocating for our rights, posting things online, granted, not granted. Um, I am on social media a lot, if you
Mhm.
can't tell already. So I see a lot of posts advocating for people with disabilities from people with disabilities. So really seeing that amplified gives me hope that there are people out there who really stand up for what they believe in and will voice what I feel is right as well. and hopefully that'll help in the long run.
Yeah, no, I love that. So if listeners can take away one thing from your story, what do you hope that it would be?
Basically, I said before, people with disabilities are just like everyone else. We may need some assistance from a person or some assistive technology device, or it may take us a little longer to do something. We can probably get it done. And they just have to be accepting and patient and all of those kinds of things to work with us.
Okay, cool. So, what's one concrete action that someone can take, even today, to support people with disabilities in their community? So, yeah, it could be like something small too. I think people have to realize
Yeah,
you don't have to do grand things.
basically become knowledgeable and really talk with somebody with a disability, get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they watch the news, or if they read on social media or in the news, what's going on with everything in our country in terms of people with disabilities, if they feel it's wrong, say something about it, participate in some sort of protest, or post something online if they feel it's appropriate, or repost something so that a certain campaign is amplified. I'll put it that way.
Wow, that's cool. So, thank you so much for your time. I had such a wonderful time talking with you. You have such a beautiful story, and you're such a beautiful soul, too. I hope you really realize that. But lastly, before we wrap up our conversation, how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
So I am on social media. If you can't already tell, I really am a social media junkie. It's sometimes good and bad all at the same time. I do have a link tree. It's link tree, so it's LIK and Thomas R. .ee, I believe, / my first initial, so A, and then my full last name, Singh, SINE, 87. And you can find my other social media accounts there.
Okay, cool.
And some posts or some links that I've shared as well.
Great. And I think that your Linktree account will be in your bio too. So if people want to just copy and paste there. But yeah, I was looking at your Linktree. You've been so involved with different things, and just you're an incredible human being. So
thank you.
I'm so grateful to be connected with you. But thank you again for your time. It was really nice talking with you. And I hope you have a good your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that's on my face, I remind myself to take a breath, it's a brand new day.